Hello, everyone. Welcome to Courageous Custody, Real Stories, Real Solutions, your weekly dose of empowerment and practical guidance. I am Renee Rodriguez, the creator of The Custody Blueprint.
And I am Atra, a level 3 internal family systems practitioner. And Renee and I understand the unique challenges that protective parents face in the courtroom. So our mission here is to equip you with the strategic thinking and emotional support that you need to navigate this difficult journey with strength and resilience.
So every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we're going to go live on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, bringing you real stories. Get inspiration and insight from stories about courageous parents who have walked in your shoes and emerged victorious in big ways and small, and expert advice. Get practical strategies from us to help you advocate for your children and manage your trauma as you go through your custody case. So let's go ahead and dive in. Before we start, reminder that we do not give legal advice or therapy.
Correct. And if you're feeling triggered, we want you to take care of yourself, step away, come back, join us in the comments.
So today's topic is being without your kids on holidays. And I think, this really comes out of, remember last week we had talked about dealing with the monsters, the narcissistic shenanigans that happen for Halloween. Now we're out of Halloween, but really Halloween, as we mentioned last time, for many people starts the holiday season there's so many holidays that happen, right? We've got things coming up. We've got Thanksgiving, we've got Hanukkah, we've got Kwanzaa, we've got Christmas, we've got New Year's, we've got a lot. We've got a lot. There's more, right? There's more religious and cultural holidays. And then, when we talk about this, I think we're also talking about special days as well, because what we're talking about today really applies to, birthdays or anything else that's coming up. So I think, the biggest thing is that when I think there's two big things. One piece of it is we get either part of the holiday or every other holiday, right? That's the first thing. And the second piece of it is those holidays that we have where we are not with them, the part of the holiday that we're not with them. If we choose Christmas as an example, even if you're splitting the day, for those kiddos who, for them, Santa Claus is really important for them, then whose house are they waking up at to go see what Santa delivered? And it's hard, I think, for a lot of parents to realize that Santa's presents are going to stay under the tree for them until their kiddos come home, because they are waking up to Santa's deliveries someplace else. And I think it's really important for us to note that some of the stuff that we talk about I've heard a lot of, moms say, it sounds trivial when I say it. Well, I don't think it is trivial. I think that we create these special days. There's so much preparation and anticipation and excitement going into all of them that nothing about it can feel trivial. Right. And so it is hard to be without them.
Yeah. Even something as simple as when around the holiday time, movies come up, right? Special movies. And then your kids, they're going to go see it with the other parent first and before you. And those things aren't trivial. They do hurt and they do have meaning. But what we're here to talk about is to really help you sort of learn some tips and tools on how to cope and deal with that during this time, because I love that you're normalizing this. Being without your kids on holidays, it's not fun. Especially the healthy moms and the healthy protective parents that really love and want to be with their children during these times. I think like we talked about in the last episode, it's really about not making it about the date, but making it about the experience and creating the traditions. Yeah,
that's exactly right. So when it comes to these holidays, when we look at the dates that these things are happening on, I think, one of the best ways to alleviate, being without your kids on the actual holiday really is about doing all of the special stuff, creating annual traditions around each one of these special days that are around that day and not on them, especially given, we just did a workshop, as a matter of fact, last month, the October 12th workshop, preparing, dealing with the narcissists' holiday shenanigans, how everything gets messed up. And usually the mess up happens on the calendared day of each holiday. And a lot of what we talked about with that workshop was look at the things that you can make around the holiday, because that's what the kids are going to walk away with, right? So we know how to make sure that it's special for the kids. But I think what we want to really focus a little bit more on tonight is, but maybe that's also what defines the holiday for you as well. Maybe the fact that we're trying to engender in our children not so much dependence on the actual calendar date of things, maybe that's something that we can unlearn, right? That healthy parents can unlearn, so that these holidays can almost be redefined in terms of when they don't have their kiddos versus when they do the usual thing on the years or the times when they do have their kiddos, right?
Yeah. And, holidays are a really good opportunity. I know this is going to some people are going to be like, absolutely not. I can hear that already in the internet audience. But
Yeah.
holidays are
Well,
really a good opportunity to feel your feelings, like when your kid is not with you,
yeah.
and maybe there is some grief that you have around this time, and then to feel the grief of things being different now, and the way life looks like now, and letting those sort of feelings arise and be felt and
Mhm.
released. So it is an opportunity for healing during these times as well. When you do not have your child, when you're not with your child, is an opportunity to be with yourself and really process some of that grief and loss that's there.
I was working with a mom who was about to experience her first Christmas without her child. They were doing the alternating thing, which, when I'm advising clients, I tell them why that's a preference when you have a narcissistic or abusive, a disordered co-parent, about, just alternating rather than splitting the day.
Mhm.
But it was her first, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day without her child. She'd and the child was by this time actually a little bit older. She had had all of the Christmases up until, I think, the child was 5 or 6, as a matter of fact, before she had her first Christmas without him. And one of the things that we had decided to do was for her, she was like, I don't want to go to the family celebrations without him. I don't want to, go do this without him. In fact,
Mhm.
I don't even want to wake up in our home without him. And so what she ended up doing was, we came up with some ideas. She ended up booking a retreat. And so she went on a retreat at a retreat center that for years people have been trying to get her to go to, saying, oh, this place is amazing. She came back, and when she was talking to me, she said, it's actually ended up being one of the most special Christmases I had. Not being in the home and with family ended up being exactly the right thing for me. And because I was on retreat, I got to feel that sense of grief and loss. I also got to feel the sense of the day and what it was meaning for me and what it would be like for me without my kiddo on this special day. And it so now it turns out to be something that she does every other year. So when she doesn't have her kiddo, that's the spot she goes to, and then together they celebrate Christmas whenever she has the second half of the holiday with the family, and the family loves it because they get a second Christmas and a second
Mm.
Christmas meal. And so that was her way of coping with not having her kiddo on that very special favorite holiday for her. And I like that story. To me, it gives ideas to all parents of how am I going to be without my kid? How can I feel everything, right? And if I want the day to be a sense of just grief and loss, how how can that day look for me? What can that be like? What joy? Or if I want to find some joy, I don't want to do that. What can
Yeah.
that look like? And I think there's a lot of ideas out there for what that can look like.
Well, for sure. Oftentimes the ability to travel is often hindered, right? So if there's a place I want to
Yes.
go, because you're paying for 2 tickets, you've got to arrange time sharing. There's a lot of hindrances from maybe even just traveling and seeing the world. And what I love is that that's an opportunity where moms can go by themselves and maybe experience it. And the great thing is they can
Yes.
learn something about the place first and then plan to bring their kiddo back and
Yeah.
show that. So it's just it to see it as an opportunity as
Yeah.
well, I think is a really valuable reframe for sure.
The bucket list, right? You've always
Mhm.
wanted to go to Hawaii. It's expensive, the flights and that type of thing. But you're right. If it's just the one ticket and it's just the one person, then it's an opportunity to be with yourself. So I think we do recognize that you're being without your kids, but I think that there is an opportunity to be with yourself or just with your family without I think you look for the positives, but you sit with the stuff that isn't so positive as well, right? And I think it's important for me to note that as somebody who's a custody strategist, is that as these holidays are coming up, one of the things that I will say can appear not so great for some of our clients in their cases is if there does need to be some grace about the times that you're not with your children. I'm not, and by the way, that doesn't mean, yes, it means being collaborative, but it doesn't mean bending over backwards or doing something beyond what's in the order for you to do. It's more about what I'm talking about is when you're talking about the fact that they're going to have Thanksgiving with the other parent this time, that there's so much grace with that and graciousness as well, and find out. I don't think it's always feeling so special for the kids, right? We have kids whose, especially with the moms are accused of parental alienation because the kids just don't want to go over to an abusive parent's home,
Right.
right? To a home where they're not doing much of anything. They never do much of anything. They never did much of anything on Thanksgiving. But darn it, they were going to get it in the parenting plan that they got their half of the kiddo every other Thanksgiving, right? And so what ends up happening is that nothing happens on Thanksgiving Day with these kids. There still needs to be a graciousness to that. So I just, that custody strategist me is always going to pause and say, make sure we don't we don't want to tell our kids you're going to have a great time if that's not true. We don't want to tell our kids anything positive, but we are going to want to say, what would you like to have with you to make the holiday special? You're going to have Thanksgiving at dad's. Is there anything that you want to do? Or are you going to kind of take the day easy? It's you don't want to ask too much about the plans because then that becomes alienation.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what you do want to do is you want to kind of find out, how is your kiddo feeling? How can it feel special for the kids? We've already talked about the fact that you're going to spend November doing Thanksgiving traditions and things that you're going to form that have nothing to do with Thanksgiving Day, that we look forward to every Thanksgiving season, as it were. But if they're going to be spending that day there, can it be special for your kids in a way that you can help them define if nothing's going on? How can it feel special for your kids without infringing? Be careful of infringing on the other parent. And how can you make sure that your voice doesn't talk about the fact that you're going to miss them? Saying that you miss your kids, that you wish they were with you on the holiday, has been used against some of our protective parents. And so how can you remain neutral but supportive? And I think it is in the wording of, it sounds like it's going to be a special day based on, what do you want to do while you're over there? Is there something you want to take with you while you're over there? And you know what? Don't say you miss them, but you can say, looking forward to, I'm going to be thinking about you and I'll look forward to you coming back, and then just leave it alone, right? Don't make them take any ownership over your feelings, or, there's nothing you also want to co-opt there either.
No,
But,
not at all. Not at
right.
all. And I think what you're talking about is the difference between what I'm hearing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the IFS practitioner in me, the trauma coach in me, is hearing the difference between toxic positivity and attunement, right? Like
Right.
throw in that toxic positivity. You're going to have a great time. Do this. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And when in actuality, right, that can backfire and actually cause more dysregulation in your child versus being attuned and just being
Yes.
curious and asking that
Yes.
question from a self-led place, like you just said, like, what is it that you would like to see? What is it that how can I support you? That type of being curious and being attuned to the child is what matters most.
And that's absolutely it. You want to be attuned to that. You don't want to contribute to what they know is true. You don't want to say you're going to have the good time. You don't want to gaslight, quite frankly, in a way, in effort to make things better, right? The accidental gaslighting is sort of what I call it, where it's like you're trying to make things better. But as you say, there's that dysregulation that we accidentally contribute to that we, aren't thinking so much about. So, well, look, lots coming up. Put comments there, ask us questions. But that's all for this week's episode of Courageous Custody. But before we go, thank you so much for joining us, whether live or on replay. We're so grateful to have helped in any way we may have. We have some great takeaways for this week. Beware of that toxic positivity. Plan traditions that are not on the day, which will help you as well, but also honor where you're at, the grief, anything that's going on, as well as any joys that you're finding for the holiday for yourself.
Yeah, I love that. Next week, join us again, 7 p.m. Eastern here. Like or follow or bookmark us so you can get the notifications and not miss a thing, because what we're talking about might catch you right when you need it.
And don't forget to check the comments to get a free copy of the court appearance prep list. And you can go to thecustodyblueprint.com to learn about the different ways to get help in your case. And we're also going to include the link below of that dealing with, the narcissist's holiday shenanigans workshop. We do have a recording of that we'll have the link right there below. You'll see that so that you can access that workshop.
Yes, and leave your comments about your experience with this topic and any topics you'd like to see discussed in the future. And to connect with me and map your parts, you can schedule a free compassion chat at www.atratarf.com or visit me at ifs.atra on Instagram. And wherever you are listening, please remember you're not alone. Until next week, we want you to stay strong, stay informed, and keep fighting for what matters most.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.